nice. Stephanie is basically the cute side of architectural Ecuador, so I want you guys to know that. So I was saying as a joke that you do look transformed, Gabby. So that's good because that was the purpose of your last visit to Ecuador. And I want to say hi to everybody. I see a familiar face there, Peggy. What a pleasure seeing you again. I see you that you're freezing. Over here is so warm and cozy. You have no idea.
It's cold here.
I know it is. I'm Sebastián Vergara. I'm the owner and CEO of Art Hotel Ecuador and Art Experiences Travel, or DMT. We are basically kind of the new kids on the block here in Ecuador, and we came here to change how things in Ecuador should be doing in terms of tourism. We try to change a lot of the things that we see that we see there's an opportunity in order to represent a little bit more those small entrepreneurs, the people that Gabi was able to visit, right? And work alongside them for them to give a superb experience because they're passionate about what they do. So when you're with them, it's all about them. It's about the people that you're going to be connected to and your client's going to be connected to as well. That's what we think is going to be a transformational experience, right? The only thing that we do as our hotels and our experiences travel is create the circumstances for curious travelers such as yourself. Gabby was very curious about many things. And let you actually experience by yourself how the storyline, your storyline or the client storyline intertwines with these entrepreneurs in order to like affect lives in a very special, in both ways, right? That's what we actually think real sustainable travel is all about. And the idea is to broaden out this spectrum with the hotels that we have. We are the fastest growing company in terms of luxury boutique hotels in Ecuador. And to be honest with you, we have 3 hotels already up and running since 2018. In 2019, we opened 2 at the same time, and now we're working in our 4th property, which is in the city of Guayaquil. We're very excited about this one. So the idea for us being such a young and innovative company is to keep innovating and actually set the pace for our competitors to start like seeing things in a different way, right? Make tourism like the biggest industry that touches many different families and gives so much jobs within the destination, do it in a sustainable way in which everybody gains in order to safekeep the culture and traditions that we have as a country. That's a small purview. I can talk about this for hours. And next to me is Stephanie Reason, our commercial director, if you may. She works alongside me developing different products, talking with different people, and she's bespoke for Art Experiences Travel and Art Hotels Ecuador in terms of that we want to take within the market as well. So, Stephanie, I don't know if you want to add something.
Yes. Good morning to just longer and so please giving us
Can't hear you.
to share what we are doing can you hear me well? Perfect. So thank you for giving us this time to share what we do in Ecuador. As Sebastián was saying, we're just trying to change the concept of how to travel to Ecuador. We don't only sell hotels, we sell a whole concept of experience. So when you come, you know that you are taking something with you that will be in your mind, especially in your heart, but you are living something in the people you are meeting. So all these entrepreneurs that you will see a little bit about when Gabi shows this fun pictures that I'm sure she has, they will be also receiving from you and the passengers that you will be sending to spend their vacation, their special time here in Ecuador, and then you trust our services to just provide to them unforgettable memories and moments that they will take for the lifetime. So thank you again, and we hope that you enjoy these few moments together with Gabi.
Yes. Okay. So I'm going to just kind of share, and I'm not going to spend too much time getting too technical. We've done a couple of webinars on the hotels and things like that. Can everybody see the screen?
Yes.
All good. Okay. Yeah. I think what I'll talk, so we don't have, like I could probably talk all day, but I'm going to limit it a little bit just so that I can, convey to you kind of what I felt. Which I think is more important. So when we arrived in Quito, it was the best way I could tell you, it was coming home. And this actually was a former home, you know, that they have lovingly restored, but it was just so impressive to see this level and attention to detail at both of the hotels that I saw here, and also in Otavalo, which I'll tell you about in a moment. It was coming home. It was coming home to, you know, just handcrafted furnishings, to beautiful linens, to the most comfortable bed, to the most beautiful welcome I could have imagined. And it's really lovely because this lobby is just sort of like the heartbeat. Everything kind of takes place here, and it's beautiful, and everything is open air, and it almost feels like you're in a very wealthy friend's home. I don't have any friends like this, but if I did, that's, I'm sure, what it would feel like. So Tracy and I were just welcomed beautifully, and it very much felt like the perfect place to start this adventure. You know, and we got a comfortable night's sleep, and it was really cool because there was this little, I'll show you a photo in a moment, like this scroll on my bed with like a little saying, and almost mystical, and it kind of led to what I might possibly be doing the next day, which I thought was really cool because I'm kind of into that. But I mentioned, you know, the handcrafted materials, lots of locally sourced elements in the rooms, and you really get a beautiful sense of place. And it's funny because it's in the middle of the city, but you don't feel it. I didn't hear much outside going on. I kind of felt like I was in the hills, but yet, you know, here we were in the middle of everything, and it was just a beautiful restful sleep. So this is the drive up, just gorgeous. And again, you really do feel like you're coming home, and it's the perfect place to start this very familial adventure that you're going to have. So as I mentioned, that little scroll was on my bed, and I loved it. You know, and they've got this gorgeous rooftop bar, and you can go outside and see Quito in a whole different way, lit up at night. It's quite magical, and I thought that was a nice place to begin. So Stephanie took us out the next day, and that was fun because she's just delightful. If you ever have a chance to meet her, you'll just be smiling all day. She's got this way, even if she's being serious, she speaks with a smile. So I think it's just lovely. She's the right person for that job. And even just these little things that happened on the way, you know, just stopping at this little place where we had a coffee and some biscuits and just a magical view. It was a really, really nice, I would say, you know, pathway to what we were going to be doing, because everything was just so dramatic. You know, I guess to people that live there, it's, you know, okay, you see a volcano every day, you see one, you see them all. But for us, it was just absolutely incredible to be driving, and it's, oh, there's a lake, there's a crater, there's a volcano, there's this, there's that. Just beautiful all the way. And what I want to point out is that this sort of hero's journey concept is interesting. You have to have clients that really can trust themselves and put I would say the planning in the hands of somebody else, which is, I will say, very difficult for me. I am a severe control freak when it comes to, with most things, and especially when it comes to travel. And I had no idea what we were going to be doing every day. And yes, it drove me nuts like 10% of the way, just in my head. But for the rest of it, it was amazing. And when you can just sort of let go, and I could imagine doing this with kids, and just saying, wow, we're going on an adventure, and we had, you know, I don't know what we're doing, and actually mean it. And then trust these people to make this experience for you. It was quite incredible. And for me, that was one of my big takeaways too, is just letting go, because I never do. I'm always the travel planner for everybody. I'm always the organizer. And I was just able to be like, all right, great. You know, like I'll show up wherever you tell me. So this I thought was interesting because this was it was a small workshop that was so colorful, and I had no idea kind of what happened here. And it was weavers. It was a husband and a wife and another girl that worked with them, and they were just very simply. And I had no idea what was going on. There was just thread everywhere. It almost looked like a booby trap. You know, there were things happening. There were wheels turning. There were all of these contraptions, and it turned out, you know, that they were separating threads, and they were going through these incredibly difficult processes of putting colors together and making strands and setting them up to be put together in these machines that looked, you know, a bit wonky, like that, like, could they work? And just to have us, he sort of was like, okay, yeah, sit down. Here's what you should try, you know? So we were a little bit afraid to touch it. It had pedals, and it had, you know, kind of things that you moved with your arms. And what was really cool is that they have these sort of like, it's almost like a conductor writes a piece of music, or, you know, musician writes a sheet music. There were all these codes of which pedal to press and which lever to move and all of this kind of stuff. And we were just trying to do it. And then it turned into a little fish or a diamond or something like that we wove ourselves. But The most interesting thing about this is that we take everything for granted. We go to stores and we buy any kind of embroidered top we want, any kind of bracelet, any kind of this and that. And it's usually fabricated by a machine or a robot. And here it was, these people taking the time to take every strand of thread and separate it and put colors together and put these, machinations together so they could make these beautiful, colorful bracelets and tops and belts. We just don't have that anymore. And I can't, it was overwhelming to me because it could take, I think, probably weeks to months for them to make maybe a really intricate piece of something. And, I think it was a good step back because we tend not to have appreciation for really, really detailed handcrafted things. And I thought that was beautiful. And they were so modest and so humble. And they let us touch everything, which was a huge mistake. So I'm super clumsy, but it was just beautiful. And they were so kind and, and what I couldn't believe is that they had this little, area where you could, purchase something if you wanted. And the stuff was so inexpensive. And it was unbelievable because now knowing the amount of work that went into each piece, it just kind of blew my mind. But they were just very gracious. And this was a really lovely thing to see. And there we've got Tracy working the, I don't know what it was, some kind of spinning wheel, but she had fun. And it was amazing. So just the appreciation to the detail, that's my little piece there that I was working on the left. But something like that would have taken a very, very long time. So I thought it was really nice to be able to see that. And this, I don't want to play favorites, but this was my absolute favorite stop. This was, and you could see that little girl, she stopped traffic and she was like, she made it all for me. This was a woman named Claudia, and this is, I guess, her house that they built a kitchen onto. I don't know, guys, correct me if I'm wrong. What came first, the kitchen or the house? Stephanie. Did she build the kitchen or the house I can't remember. What was it that they built the kitchen onto it?
Well, in the place they have two houses. The yellow house that you see now, there's a more modern house where they have the workshop where you can do all the transformational activities. So she built the new house, but the other house that I think was in the original home where she knows when she was over there. But this one is new. She did it, especially for this activity.
Oh, it was beautiful. We drove up and, this woman comes out of the kitchen and she's heavily pregnant, but moving around like a dancer. And she had this beautiful little daughter that sort of greeted us too. And it just kind of melted our hearts. And what happens here is that, it's a family home. So I guess her mom lives there and her brother was there. And her husband does help her I guess at certain times. He's also a musician, but she allows us, in the kitchen and the storeroom there. Tracy didn't like grounding the corn too much. She wasn't feeling very successful, but we had fun. It was, what I loved about this is not only, I love to cook. So that was cool to be in someone's kitchen and to just see her, but it was a relatively small kitchen and everybody was just moving around and working. So if I could just ask everybody to just check their mute. I hear a bit of background noise. I'm so sorry. Just take care of that. Hang on. Sorry, just quick housekeeping, guys. Just mute your phones. Sorry, I'll just give me a second. Sorry. I know that everybody wants to be able to hear. Okay. So, the kitchen experience was nice, but it was her family. It was her, everybody was there moving around, but nobody bumped into one another. Everything seemed very, very locally sourced, almost on her ground. So it's like, we ran out of, I think, carrots at one point. She's like, okay, let me just go grab some. And I think they were just in the garden, that kind of thing. And it was so simple. I think what I took away from this, aside from the fact that she's got a beautiful story of being a very successful entrepreneur in her own right and just figuring things out and figuring out a way to make a business out of something that she loved and integrate her family into it. We tend to have a lot of excess. Like when I cook, I use 20 pounds of pasta for 5 people, that kind of thing. Everything is excess. Everything is too much. And everything I was looking at, I noticed it was very small amounts. And I'm like, was this going to be enough for us? And everything was more than enough. It was beautiful. And it was just the way that it was put together and the way that she thought everything through, gave me a really nice appreciation for the fact that we actually all have enough, and we don't need so much more. And if we had cooked double the food like I would have done, it would have been wasted. So everything had a purpose. Like I even noticed that at the kitchen, they were even taking the garbage, like the vegetables, and I guess using it for compost, or maybe using it for something else in the garden, which was amazing. Sorry?
They use it for the pig.
Oh, we're still having the mic problem. I'm so sorry. It's a little bit echoed.
What I said is that they use it for the pig. Claudia actually gives the pigs really nice food in order to like be sustainable upon all those things. So they don't use it for compost, they use it for animals like that.
All right, I'm going to get you to type that because that was still unfortunately muffled, but I want to hear. What you said. Sorry about that, guys. This is a tech wonder here today. But all right, so anyway, yeah, everything was beautiful, and she sat down with us to eat, which was so nice. And she kind of was telling us about her life and where she started from, and how her parents didn't read or didn't have much education, and they kind of allowed her to explore things, and to try different things. And she has a husband who's a musician, and she was showing us what he was doing. And it was really nice. I loved it because, like I said, I took away that, we all actually have enough, and less is more sometimes. So it was a beautiful meal, and it was a lot of fun to be able to have access to her kitchen and learn a little bit more too about, what it is that's tradition. This kind of surprised me too, because again, I had no idea what we were doing, and we sort of rolled up to this beautiful house with a courtyard in the front of this little garden, and met this woman, and I'm assuming it might have been her daughter. And we sat down, and there were just feathers all over the place and things, and it turned out to be dream catchers, which I didn't have any idea about. I had seen one or two in my life and never really bought one or thought much about it. And it was really, really interesting because we were able to make them. We had to select our feathers, our stones, all this kind of stuff. And she was so kind, but she was a little bit severe, like, no, do it this way, do it that way. We didn't expect that, but she wanted it to be perfect for us. And then afterwards, she had a bunch of stones, and she sort of asked us to select what drew us. And it was only after that she told us what the spiritual significance was of the color or whatever stone it was. So that was really, really interesting to me to kind of see, did it match what I was looking for, what was going on in my life? And I took away from that, I believe in mystical things. And I think that, she certainly believes that there's a power in these kind of things. So it was really nice to do something different. And I think a kid, absolutely, we're talking about family travel and things like that, would love all of this stuff because it's so highly interactive. We got to do everything. And so many times people go on, they take their kids or they're going and they don't get to do anything, and you get bored, you're sort of like, I want to be a part of this. And in every experience, in every instance, it was like, here, roll up your sleeves and do this. And it made the experience so much better. But I thought this was interesting. And she had this beautiful sort of traditional outfit on, and I loved how she was. And she didn't speak English. It didn't even matter. I think that it's fine because I think the sense of what she was trying to convey was understandable and interesting. Then, and every single time, I should add, every time that we would go to another event or another person to visit, we were given a little scroll and a little bag, and there would be a riddle or a clue. I never guessed really what it was. They were written so beautifully that, I think you still don't know until you arrive. The only reason I had some insight is because I feel like I've been working on this, on the back end, for a while. But even so, I still didn't actually know the order, and I didn't know, exactly who we were going to meet. So we were given, I guess, some pieces to create something. I didn't know what it was, and he wound up making this sort of duck whistle, or it's a bird call whistle for us. This was a musician, and it was cute because there was, he has his workshop, and then there were some kids roaming around in the courtyard, and it looked like maybe everybody, a big family that might have lived together. And it was so sweet just to kind of see them, the kids playing and whatever they were doing. And so he made our whistles for us, and he kind of showed how these things are put together. But more than that, he had a workshop of all of these different instruments. And some of them I had never seen before. I don't know what they are. what they do. And he played several for us, and it was so great. And he has a son who was just the kindest. He looked like the kindest soul, very, very soft spoken. And he is a musician too. And we were told that he actually teaches music to some people in the indigenous communities locally, which I thought was impressive. And so he played some stuff for us. But the most special moment for Tracy and I mean, we appreciated the music, but his daughter and son, like, went down the street to go get ice cream, and they came back and they looked like they were sharing some kind of crazy secret, that some laugh that happened to them, and they were trying to tell their father but not really. And it was just so cute just to see the interaction and just kind of what they were doing. I guess it was a Sunday, and it was a very real moment. And I think that what was also nice is that you're in places that are these people's homes. That's a really big deal, to be invited into some place like that. I don't want people in my house. So, for them to be doing that and being so gracious and opening up their lives beyond just what they're showing you was really, really sweet. The kids just overwhelmed me. They were just beautiful. And then we went on to Otavalo and Hotel Otavalo, which is their second hotel in this series. And we mentioned the other one in Cuenca, but we didn't get there this time. But this hotel was just, I mean, outstanding. Same kind of feeling that you're in someone's very, very wealthy and elegant home. Again, not any of my friends' homes, but the beautiful sense of almost like a warm blanket, and everything has just this extreme attention to detail. You see the artworks on the wall. You see, again, the linens, the special touches, all of that, and the extremely warm welcome. That's, I think, you can't put a price on when someone smiles at you or gives you, just a welcome and this beautiful feeling that you are meant to be here. It's amazing. And so even just like the lighting is perfect and everything is sort of played with the natural light, and as well as the recessed light, I thought was a really nice kind of contradiction. And then that at night, it's especially beautiful. So we arrived, and what I thought was really cool is that they have a concierge that took us out on a little walking tour of the immediate neighborhood, because how many times do you arrive somewhere and you have no idea where you are, what is around you, what are you supposed to see and experience? Most of the time you're left on your own. So, this is a guy with, it was his town, his city. So it was really interesting for us to just be walking around and finding all of the high points that we should have seen that we probably would have missed on our own. So it took about an hour and a half or so, and just pointed out restaurants and a little plaza, a little park where we sat on a bench, and he told us a little bit about some history in the immediate area. We went to one restaurant that seemed like to go on forever, and I never would have walked in there otherwise, but found it to be a really cool place to have an event. And, it was really nice because we just felt like very, very welcomed. Very welcomed. And it was a lovely little touch. So I'd recommend it. And again, the rooms equally as beautiful here, very high touch and all of the conveniences that you'd expect, but the lighting is very dramatic, and beds were very comfortable. And what I find that this was interesting, like, we were looking for temperature controls, and there are none because it's built so specifically, I guess, the way that the walls are. Maybe you guys can expand on this, but I thought that was fascinating. It's sort of, the room knows when it needs to be cool and knows when it needs to be warm. It's something about, maybe it's the bedding or the way that the walls are constructed. But or maybe it's the old wall. Maybe, I don't know if you guys can expand on that. I thought that was a really interesting thing, but maybe use the mic. Yeah.
I'm basically yelling. Can you hear me?
Oh, switch to the way that you were speaking before.
Okay, how about there?
Yeah, because this is an important point.
So what God says is what is here. Sustainability part of. So sustainability actually doesn't come when you touch under the top and when you plan it. So as a family, my sister and my mother are architects and planners. And we actually see that the planning for the refurbishment is back to normal houses over 100 years old. Normally using their houses in order to not need to have accreditation control within each room. So each one of the components, the roof, It's like the beautiful picture that you see within the wall. And within the construction itself, in the refurbishment, we did everything that we could in order to recreate what a normal house in Ecuador is in the house. Even though that we're like 10,000 feet above sea level, our weather is, well, what do you call it? It's actually beautiful. It's always between 60s and 75. It's either rain or sunny, and that's pretty much it. So this is actually living like a local within the town. It's not that we are against trying to control what we're going to think, and we have different gadgets that can actually help you improve this thing, right? In Guayaquil, I must say, locals do use air conditioning, so we will have air conditioning. So it's basically making a local arena to each one of the cities in which we are. And you're going to see that the hotels have their own personality. We're part of a chain, but all of them have distinctive features that represent the destination in which you are located. So this is basically what we call a palace within the city of Ecuador.
Okay, this is just another photo of the hotel, so you can sort of see the lobby area. And again, the rooms are sort of similar to the other hotel that we just spoke about before. The rooms sort of face the courtyard. So again, it feels very home, with a home kind of style feel, you know, that everything faces inward, which is nice, but still some beautiful views outside. So these are just some views of what we did in the evening and where we walked around, and you know, some of the scenes of places we got to see, which was very colorful and nice. And then on the rooftop bar, that was interesting. We made some mixes and made some cocktails. So the bartender was very kind with our weird requests. So that was nice, and got to go behind the bar and mix a few things up and shake things up. And I would say that, you know, in the lower level is the restaurant, which is just beautiful. It's got this sort of, you know, elegant yet cavernous feel, and it's just incredible. And the food was, you know, beyond expectations. So that was a lovely way to eat and sample a lot of different local specialties. So I call this the real equator. I learned that the other side of the there are two exhibitions of the equator. I guess this was the real one. This is actually like the official point where it's 0, 0. So we had fun here, and this was interesting because they had all sorts of interesting challenges when we got back to, we drove back from Otavalo, but we found this interesting because there were all these little like games, like balancing an egg on the head of a nail, or, you know, putting your arms up and testing your strength when you moved right on the pole, or, you know, as opposed to away from the pole. So that was a cute little exhibition. That was like a nice little visit, just enough time to learn a little bit, you know, about this very interesting place and what it's all about and what the scientific significance is. And that was very nice. This is something I didn't really expect, again, and that was, you know, it was, you know, I'm not a huge drinker, but this Casa Agave kind of shocked me because I didn't know a lot about this process of this incredible locally sourced and produced beverage made from the agave plant. It's called Mishki. I'd never heard of it, never knew it, got to taste it, but it was really cute. We were led around by this just adorable, very vivacious young girl, and she was very excited to tell us about the plants and what these leaves can do. And she gave us these little ribbons and told us to tie them around these stems to make a wish. And then there were little plants that people could name, you know, if they were lucky to be chosen, and they could put their name on the plant, and these would once, you know, turn into the plants they would use to make, you know, to contribute to the production of this particular beverage. So that was really interesting to see. And then they kind of brought us into the distillery where the magic happens. And it was just enough information. It didn't get too technical, which I thought was perfect, because when you do something like this, you want to taste, you want to be involved in it, but you don't want to sit through a 2-hour, you know, unless you're really, really a fan, you know, of this kind of thing. Or, you know, when you go to a winery, maybe you want to spend the whole day and learn about the process. But I love this because it was perfectly tailored to the average person's attention span on something like this, you know, where you just kind of want to learn a little bit and get to know it, but get to the tasting part and get to the fun. So I think it was perfectly timed. And that was us with some, you know, random people that were also kind of on the tour. There was a little bar back there. So they sat us down, and the way that it was done with all of the different sips and little things to pair it with was beautiful. The guy who led the experience of the tasting and the sipping was very very excited about everything. And again, he kept it pretty compact so that you were moving along and you were tasting things, but you didn't feel like you were missing the rest of the day and spending hours and hours in one particular place. Then there was a little bar experience where they got some of the folks involved and they could shake cocktails and things like that in the back. But it was lovely, and it was something that I had never tasted before, and something I didn't know anything about. So I thought that was really fun, and that's how they set it up at each person's seat. So you could see the 1, 2, 3, 4, what to eat with it and what to sip and all of that. So just a beautiful time, really. And there was one of the guests shaking it up with the bartender, which I thought was fun. This overwhelmed me. I'm not really sure where to start with this, but we arrived at a convent, really, and had no idea what we were going to be doing there at all. And walked through some of the halls, and and we were led through the church by a woman who I guess she works there, a woman, maybe a spiritual related person, but just a lovely old woman who got into the history of the design and what was very special about the church. And then we were sort of led to somewhere we couldn't really figure out, and it was a kitchen. And there was a chef waiting there from the team, and he was making ceviche. So we got to put on aprons and mix and measure and watch him, and mostly eat. It was too beautiful, and I think it was fun to watch him do it. But made the most gorgeous ceviche, and we had some plantain chips, and it was just beautiful. And it was, what a dramatic way to imagine some kind of experience to pop on a group. And there were all these different rooms that you could possibly set up a table in and eat in, and I could imagine it must be very also dramatic at night, perhaps by candlelight, if they allow that. But it was a very stunning opportunity to be in a place that you'd never imagine you'd have access to, and to be able to do something like this and participate and learn, and also sit down and eat something delicious, because it wasn't that we were just in the kitchen trying to help out, but we got served a most beautiful meal here. Yeah.
Gabby, if I just may add
Yeah.
something special about the place. This is the convent of San Diego. This is a convent from the 16th century, and the kitchen where you see that we did this special activity is the original kitchen where the monks used to prepare their meals. So there's a lot of story, and behind all this cooking lesson that we had with Gabby and with Tracy.
Absolutely. And it was so just dramatic. And again, following the theme, so unexpected. Would not have thought that was going to happen in there. I never, it was one of the best meals I could remember, and it was just amazing. So very colorful, simple, but yet very elegant. And it was a really lovely time. So I will remember that for a very long time. And one of the things
I had to add up something over there now that you guys hear. Sorry about the connection problems.
It's okay.
These places that you see, this is just one of the 16th century convents that we work with in Quito, because we like to recreate these special moments by giving you access. Not many people actually get to see that kitchen that you saw, Gabby, that is 450 years old. And we're on the project at some point, hopefully, to refurbish it to make it like an outstanding real kitchen. That's actually what Stephanie is pushing me to do, but it's more difficult than that. But what we give you is access to places in which not even some locals can get access to. We have done in this San Diego church, in Santo Domingo, in La Compañía de Jesús, in many different other places, in museums as well, that we close the gates, and even in natural attractions, we close the gates only for certain clients and recreate a dinner, a lunch, or an experience, a gastronomical experience that you will never forget in your life. Because we set up is like a tiny mini event of a very high-end luxury gastronomical experience in places in which not many people have access to. That's the access that we have for all what we have done within the country as well.
Such a great point. I'm so glad that you brought that up, because that really, everything that we did, we felt like very privileged, and we weren't like told, but you could just know that that not everybody gets to do those kind of things, but you do when you book with this company. So it's just tremendous. I mean, some of the stuff is indescribable, and there's a photo I'm going to end with that just my jaw dropped, and I'm sure yours will too, but I'll save that for a few minutes. But that's the kind of thing that happens. So this was very, very close to the hotel. This on the same street. There was a chocolate maker, and this boy, and I think it might have been his mother, I don't know. But they had, they had beans, and they were grinding them, and they were showing just kind of how the whole process of, what you do with the bean and how it becomes chocolate in some way, or how it could become a chocolate drink even. And we were kind of surprised. We got to taste a few things, and then they made this drink that I don't believe they put sugar in, but it was the most delicious chocolate drink. Tracy's the sweets person. She steals all my sweets, and I think she had both of those cups because everywhere I go, my stuff is always gone, and she doesn't, I can't stand it. I gain all the weight and she can eat whatever. But so I think she stole mine, but it was just delicious, and it was just so sweet. And again, when you take it into consideration for, families and children and people of different ages, every experience was so well crafted that it wasn't too long, it wasn't too extensive, it didn't make your mind hurt. You actually were interested in everything, and you could understand what they were doing. It wasn't too technical. It was just fun. And like, let's just be a part of it. Let's taste, let's be here together. So I really loved that. I thought that was really fun. And it was whatever I got to eat that Tracy didn't steal from me, that it was very good. And then this was super funny. This was hilarious. This was just down the street, the mask maker. And I had known about this guy because we did a couple, if you saw any of our videos, especially during the pandemic, where we were talking to some of these folks. He makes these most exquisite I guess it's paper mache. I'm not really sure the process. I don't know the technical material he uses or plaster, but makes all these different masks. And I guess when he puts them on, he almost takes on the personality, or maybe he, it was interesting what he was saying and what the inspiration is for a mask. And we asked him about one character, because he had some weird characters on the wall. And we asked him, and what did you do that for? And he would answer. And then we asked him about one particular person, very polarizing figure. And we were unsure why he never did one of that. And he said, well, I don't know him yet. Like, I don't really understand him. So I couldn't make this mask. And it was interesting because I guess he had a connection in some way to whatever he has created, but I guess he makes masks for festivals and the like, but he had a beautiful collection on the wall, and little small masks that he gave out to us to give as gifts. But he was so sweet and just kind of showed us, how he was molding things and, where he paints them. And it was beautiful because I've never seen anything like this. We go to Party City and we buy Halloween masks, not to dumb it down, but really that's what we do. And to see somebody make such handcrafted treasures, and again, to open his shop up and to allow you to touch everything and to see everything and even to put things on was beautiful. And then I, again, didn't know where we were going. And he sort of led us down the street. We went on a big walk and we walked into something that looked like a church, or sort of a room at a church. And he had all of these houses, almost, they look like maybe they were built to scale, but like replicas of houses, almost doll houses, and different things that he had put together and created with these little dolls and little characters, and let us touch everything and let us see everything. But it was beautiful. Again, didn't expect that. I guess that's his other workshop or place where he can create. And that was really special too, because it's very rare that I, come across an artist or meet anybody that does a lot of things that are creative like this. So that was beautiful. And this is just us on the street. It was beautiful. It was just great with the mask maker. And he was just adorable. I mean, just his whole personality, very, very, you could just see everything is in his eyes. So I thought that was lovely. Just a lovely little photo captured on the street as we walked. This, I'm going to ask you guys to explain first. Sorry about that. What the significance of this church, and a little bit more about the gentleman that took us around, because he was very impressive.
Sure, Yami. So yeah, I know that you love Alberto. Alberto is,
yes, he was great.
I don't know if you guys seen the pictures, but his workshop, to be honest with you, is a mess.
Yes, yes, it is.
There's mask everywhere. There's like old VHSs over there, like a TV with a VHS embedded in it. It's a mess, but that's part of what the hero's journey or these people actually have to offer, because it's about like managing expectations. So when you step into that, it doesn't look like an appropriate place up until you meet Alberto. And he does not speak English, he just speaks Spanish. Is the way his body language is embedded and his passion towards what he does. Just a quick side story about Alberto. When I met him, he only makes the mask that he dreams of. And when he puts a mask on, he impersonates what the mask is all about. You saw that by yourself with a couple of devils,
Yeah.
Gabi, he was
Yeah.
putting the mask. But with me, when I met him, he put a dragon mask and he started following me on the street, breathing fire and trying to scratch me. I thought he was crazy, but he's just like one of those people that are very into what they do, and he just like shows you what he's passionate about. Okay, so this church over here that you see, this is the main patio of one of the most important churches in the historical center of Quito, right? Which is called Santo Domingo. In those alleyways that you see within the arcs, a lot of the monks are still living there. So it's a convent that is still being used. But we do have the access to have a private tour with the gatekeeper, which is called Vicente, of this church, who speaks better English than I do. And will give you a master class on each one of the small hideouts that you see within the church. So this is one of those things of a private tour that gives you an access into going into a church at night. And I don't know if you have other pictures, but you can actually get to the domes, you get to the library in very special places in which normal people are not allowed to go. So this is the refectorio, or this is where the monks used to eat. Gabi, I'm gonna let you with words because the paintings, you have to explain something about them.
Oh my goodness. This was a shock to me too. So this was, yeah, like they had an event in here, which I think is interesting too. What a beautiful place to have a dinner. So we could see that they were just sort of cleaning up. But every single like icon and pictures you can see on the top sort of slanted photo was, I guess, a religious figure. I don't think they were saints. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they were maybe, they were saints. Okay.
Yeah.
And each one of them died the most horrific death you could imagine. Like one, I think, ate snakes, and one got stabbed, and one got beheaded, and one had, I don't think electricity, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it was electric shocks. But every single one was one got pushed off a cliff. Like it was almost like funny, very, very dark. But we were seeing this, and it was just very difficult to understand. Give me a second. Let me see if I can find who's unmuted. There we go. But yes, a very, very interesting hallway. And this kind of photo, I will leave it here because this was just, it just blew us away. Like these doors kind of swung open, part of this church, and we had access to this beautiful, beautiful cathedral that was, and I thought this was amazing, not only because it was visually stunning and kind of overwhelming, that we were able to be in here, but it was decorated in such elaborate detail with the gold and the red and just beyond. I mean, the picture doesn't do it justice. It was taken from far away, sort of like enlarged it here. But it took us a second to settle in and to realize, wow, okay, we are in here and somebody let us in here. Like, and I have to imagine this is a part of this magnificent, complex that a lot of people don't get to see. So that was extremely special. It's hard to put into words what that felt like. To be in there, and just being of this particular faith, it meant a lot to me. It definitely felt a very spiritual connection in here, but it was beautiful, and it was just a lovely way to sort of experience something that felt very hidden and very preserved, almost for special people that know the right people that get access to this, if I can say it that way. So that was overwhelming. And then we were served, a little glass of something special outside again in the plaza before we left, and walk back to have dinner at Hotel Mama Cuchara again. And it was beautiful. Just an overwhelming experience, really. But I think what made it for me, aside from the fact that I felt very welcomed and very well taken care of, was that even though I had no idea what I was going to be doing, I never felt safer. And I felt totally, totally great, not even to ask and not even to wonder, because every single thing was better than the next. And every little clue, even though I couldn't get the clues, I couldn't understand them, I could see them afterwards. I could say, oh, that's what that meant, and it would all kind of make sense. And that's kind of what life is, I mean, things happen to us. We have no idea why, right? And then we come back and we experience them. It's like, that's what was supposed to happen. Okay, I get it. And that's kind of what that trip was for me. So I hope this made some sense. I hope that I was able just to capture in a very short time what had happened to us. But Tracy couldn't be here today, but she really kind of felt the same way, and she's happy to share her perspective as well. And we just are so grateful. We feel very, very lucky and fortunate to be able to work with this great company, and really look forward to having your clients on site so they can tell you these stories when they come back. So I'll turn it over to Sebas and Stephanie if you want to just kind of leave anyone with any thoughts before we say goodbye.
Yes, I think that it's very, very special, Gabby, that you mentioned that you were kind of anxious because you didn't know what you were going to do. And that is actually the concept of the hero journey. You come into Ecuador, we're in South America, you don't know much about our beautiful country, and you just let us guide you through this time, history, and all the experiences that you're going to have with us. So when you go back, you feel different. And I think that you feel the courage to just go and to tell more about Ecuador, and then you become our ambassador. And that is what we want to create. So it's a very different concept of just coming to visit Ecuador or the Galapagos Islands. You will be taking very deep with you. And that, of course, you will be helping all these people like Claudia with her little daughter. And Claudia is not only a person that is cooking something special for you. She then will be teaching Quechua to the community where she's living, to the new generation, so they don't lose their original language. Or Ali, as Gabby was saying, he will be teaching music to the children that is in the inner valleys of Otavalo, so they don't use the how to play and all these beautiful instruments. So that is why it is so very special. And of course, for us, getting to meet you, getting to meet your passengers leaves something very, very special. Also for us, our staff, and of course, the entrepreneurs. So thank you again, Gabby, for the opportunity, and thank you all. If you have any questions, we will have all the time that you need to answer it. Maybe if you want to write to us, you have our emails. So please do.
Amazing. This was great. Yeah. Any final thoughts, Sebas?
No, I think Stephanie put it in the right place. Sorry about the connection problems, but it is what it is. One of the things that I want to see, because I saw the messages that people didn't hear what I said about the hotels, is that sustainability, as you can see, is very important for us, not only outside of the hotels, but within the hotels as well. The hotels in the areas in which locals do not need air conditioning or warming spaces, warming devices, if you may, we don't use them because we plan the refurbishment of these buildings that are over 100 years old, right? And we plan the refurbishment in order to specifically do not need to have those things. But we do have gadgets for those that do want to, and we have the space to put them, but it's not very sustainable. No, it's not. Now in Guayaquil, which is a city in which air conditioning is a must, we will have it. So this is basically the hotels that you're going to see that we have. Gabby showed you two of them, spectacularly way to show them. You have a way with words, Gabby. And each one of the hotels is going to represent the destination in which you are. You're never going to see a hotel like the ones that we have in each one of the destinations, not even in our own chain of hotels. Each one of them has to be different because each one of them has been envisioned to be part of Ecuador's culture, right? That's as a family, right? Like the wealthy friend, our family has these hotels, right? Because one of our values is that we want to preserve the heritage for the future generations. And within the arts of our hotels, Ecuador, the art and the design play a huge role in making Ecuadorian hospitality a concept, not taking ideas from other places and embedded them into the design or architecture that we have already. So that's what we're passionate about. And of course, their passion couldn't be contained between the walls of our hotels. And we started working with the neighbors because we're part of the neighborhood. But we're part of the neighborhood, not just being philanthropists and giving them money. We're part of the neighborhood, helping them, like teaching them how to fish, teaching them what they like to do and what they're passionate about, what their hobby is, can be turned in a sustainable way of life for them and the next of their kin. So this is way bigger than us at the end of the day. I think this is a new way to do tourism in Ecuador. I don't know other places that will do this kind of things too. I'm in a couple of forums, but me and my team, me and Stephanie, me and my wife and everybody we are very determined into changing the concept of Ecuadorian hospitality and also the way that we do tourism. And that's pretty much everything I wanted to say, Abby. Thank you.
Amazing. Well, this has been such a great hour. I hope you all found it. I love reading the comments. I couldn't read them when I was speaking, but it's so special. I'm so happy that you liked it. And please come down, come visit. We are giving away a hotel stay. So I'm going to let you know within the hour who's the lucky person. So watch your email. Thank you. And thanks for joining. Always reach out and we'll have a lot more of these to come. And as you have your clients come and visit, send us their testimonials, send us what they loved about it. And we'd love to share them as well. So again, thank you. Really a pleasure to be with all of you, and we'll talk to you very soon. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.